Good afternoon, everyone. So Bitcoin is definitely in the news, hitting its all-time high, um, and so I'm going to use this opportunity with Bitcoin to just show some possible entries on our trend market trading software. This chart of Bitcoin has got so much info on that we can't really see what's going on, but what is clear is that everybody that's been following me will know that this is your M78 channel, this one, and it is very clear. So there it was yellow and it switched over. Can't really see what happened there. We'll zoom in just now, and then here it became clear that the trend has changed and we could have entered. There was a bit of a retrace and then the trend continues up there. So there was a big profits to be made up there if you just stayed calm and follow the trend without listening to the news. I'm gonna go over to my trading view chart just to show where we are. Okay, here we go. So it was quite clear. Well, I marked these lines out. Let me just check that, zoom in there a bit. So we had a low there on the, how can you say, on the 12th of June, sorry. And then it wasn't retested. Well, it was retested, but it wasn't a lower low wasn't made. So it was, the market didn't retrace past the previous low. And then we obviously had the high there, and it was obvious when we breached that we got out of this little channel here. There's just something else I want to show this, because this was a really important level there, that one there. I'll just switch this tool off, and then I want to mark this line here. So if we go to the highest daily close there, we mark that highest daily close on there. You go across here, you can see how important that level there was. So there was another indicator that the trend has changed. I just want to go back to another Bitcoin chart. So this was the trade that I took. I missed the first opportunity, so that was around February, 14 February this year. So it clearly retested that 2022 high there. So you can see it bumped up against it, couldn't, and then there was some action around there and it broke through. It came back, it retested. That was the entry for me there, and there was a very small stop loss there. In fact, you could have waited to confirm, and it went up again and it retested again. I think that was a 0.382 entry there, and then you could have put your stop loss down here. Small risk for a huge move up. But anyway, I eventually got an entry there for a, you can see my risk was 1.64%, so really small. So I think it was a good, there were a few good opportunities for entries in this bull run. Going back here, let me just go back to that chart, not that one, the one where we should have entered. So the 15th of June, no, the retest was on the 11th of September there, that one there. Right, 11th September, so I marked it on this chart so we can just find it easier, the 11th of September. So I'm going to go zoom in there now, and we'll try and work through it. It's just a really good example. If you were interested in trend trading, then this is a really good example of where you could have entered. Okay, obviously, beg your pardon, that the M78 channel was yellow. That means it was in a downward trend or a bearish trend. So there was the retest, but on this chart there was no entry there. Then there was the switch over of the M78 channel from yellow to that indigo or blue. So there was a possible entry, although there was no entry given. Here the chart said possible entry, but on the candle there was no entry. We need a where's an example there? We need an entry. It says entry point for the software, to give us the signal, or that is the signal to enter. Okay, so there was no entry there, but the market was pretty much sideways here. So you could have said, so there was an entry. It came back and touched on the ribbon there, and also the ribbon was inside the M78 channel here. The T-con was still inside the M78 channel. It had just switched over, so the first few candles after the switch over is still volatile. this is quite a long period to be volatile, but so be it. So that candle, the B, the breakout candle, that's when everything changed. But who would have known to enter there? You could have said when we were around here, said the ribbon is above the M78 channel. It's sort of an alright entry, so there was an entry point for you. Entered, but you would have been stopped out here on this candle this week, or definitely on this breakout here if you use that stop loss or game changer lines. So moving across further, that candle didn't give an entry, although it says possible entry there. That's not a trigger. Then that one said get ready, but there was never. And also this was such a big candle. Remember, when you're too far away from the ribbon is the decider one. That distance is too far, then the market is overheated. There's going to be a retrace, or it wasn't a serious retrace, it just went sideways until the ribbon caught up. There was the good entry. So there's an entry point. It's a red entry, so a red entry is a wild card entry. There's a bit of risk involved there. You could have gotten in there, although you could have said, because the entry was there, it's still too far from the ribbon. There, the blue wasn't an entry, that was a high point entry, so that's a bit difficult to take those entries. And then it went too far from the ribbon again, and also the ribbon was, or the center line was outside the ribbon, and there came an entry there. That would have been a really good entry. So there wasn't a much. You weren't too far away from the ribbon. Maybe you could have still said the entry point is still too far, and the very next day that was like a really good entry, although the blue entry is a safer entry than the red one, but there were entries there. That one you could have said looked better because it actually perfectly touched the top of the ribbon, and there you go. That was a really good opportunity to get into the market. If you missed that, we could just go across here and zoom in again. That was obviously a huge candle, a daily candle, and then we were just far. There's a blue entry as well, but that's just really unsafe entry to take that one. There was another entry also too far from the ribbon, and then you see how it retraces. It comes back to the ribbon. I don't think there was an entry. No, there wasn't an entry on there. Still sideways, until we came here. So that actually touched the ribbon. Nice blue entry. So there was a perfect entry, and the market. That candle came below, so you would have taken a bit of a ride there, but that candle would have stopped you out. I'm talking here about really long-term trades. You could have taken your profit there, or with that huge candle. You could have gotten out the market. But today's video is about more of an investment trade than a leverage trade. So if we move across, here was some more good entries there. It said possible entry, but the background color wasn't right, so you don't take entries there. And there was a good entry again, although we were too far from the ribbon, so you couldn't really get in there. And here we are at the 45,000 area. We were going sideways. The background color, I'm just going really fast through this. Let me just close this down a bit. And then the M78 swung around again, so that wasn't good. And yeah, we started moving up again, looking for good entry. So there was a high point entry. I'm always reluctant to take those, because what it translates to is that you didn't have a good enough pullback. So you pull back, you always want to at least 40 or 75% to your first stop loss line, and then it will change to an entry point. There was an entry point, but there was a big distance from the ribbon. Could have taken, but you see this is also close to a switch over, so this whole area where the M78 changes from yellow to indigo is not a good area. So from here onwards you will start looking for entries, and there was your perfect entry. So also red is a wildcard entry, but I would have taken that because hasn't been a really good entry for quite a long time. So that was your good entry. Where was that? At 49,000, and it just never came below that again. Not never, but not in that area. So let's see, and then it went right up, and you would have been where we are today. So just to show that this is quite a good software, and especially good for long-term investment. because it's trend following. And then once the M78 changes color and it stays there, not in short periods. You see there was for a short period, for about a week or so, it changed color, a bit of a downward trend, but then it continues upwards. So as you can see from the few entries I showed, it's really good to get a exceptionally good entry. You're never going to get it perfect, and trading never is perfect. So you got to wait for the trend to show you in which direction it's going, and then you can get in. But these trades that I've discussed today are definitely not leverage trades. It's just investment, but a good tool to use for trend following. There's a few books about trend following, really interesting, but it tests your patience to the limit. And you got to stay calm. You got to wait for the market to react. You never catch the perfect bottom or the perfect top. You just jump into the trend while it's moving. It sounds simple, and I think it is simple, as long as we can keep our emotions under control. So, alright, see you in the next video. Cheers.